Hello friends, I hope you're all doing very good. I welcome you all to this very new and innovative series that I have just launched, and this series is basically called Sparkle. Now, the prime objective in this series is that I will be trying to give you short conceptual takes on the political science and international relations optional, and the idea would be to help you build a strong foundation before we eventually launch a full-fledged course on optional in the near future. Now, the topic of discussion for today is a very important topic that is called the Banality of Evil and the Story of India. There have been a lot of articles recently in the newspapers that have been trying to basically discuss about the applicability of this very unique concept given by a very important scholar by the name of Hannah Arendt, which is also mentioned in our syllabus of the UPSC for the mains examination in the Western political thought. So here, in this short and quick video, I would be trying to give you the overall understanding of what this concept is all about and how it finds relevance in the country today. You see, friends, when we talk about the word evil, for a very long time period, the mankind has been quite worried, quite concerned that why do people undertake evil activities? What motivates people to behave in an evil manner? Now, throughout the historical past of our human existence, many scholars, religious thinkers have tried to find solutions to this. For example, the Christian theologians who were there, they also tried to understand that why at a time in the humanity's existence, when we have a benevolent God with us, what motivates man to basically carry out an evil activity? And many of these Christian theologians who tried to conceptualize this, who tried to understand this, that at one place when we have a benevolent God, why does evil activity still happen? They still could not find any answer to this. And because of a lack of answer, the search continues till today. This question, that why does mankind behave in an evil manner? This question, that what motivates man to do an evil activity, continues to haunt us till today. Why does man behave in an evil manner? Is something, as I just said, continues to haunt the humanity. And friends, this question is more relevant in the present times. And when we use the word present times, I am trying to refer to the period of the World War II. If you try to understand, and if you have read a basic about the World War II, you would understand one thing, that in the World War II, the mankind, the humanity, had witnessed the worst of the times. For example, if we take the question of Germany, in Germany, Hitler had undertaken a Holocaust of the Jews. There could be nothing more evil than that activity. So World War II is one of the time periods when evil dominated the public discourse. And it is in this context that we try to study this question further. Here, I all now try to do is welcome you to this man called Adolf Eichmann. The first question is, who is Adolf Eichmann? Adolf Eichmann was basically an operative working under the Nazi government. He was working with Hitler. And why he mattered is because during the time of the interwar period, which is the period between the World War I and the World War II, in this interwar period, Hitler in Germany had come out with what is known as the final solution to the problem of the Jews. In fact, to cut the entire story short, if I have to explain you in one single line, let me put it very simply. Hitler, who was basically the ruler in Germany, was of this opinion that the Jews who are living in Germany are basically the root cause of all problems in Germany. And he basically thought that these Jews who control basically all the economic resources of Germany are basically depriving the Germans as such of what is rightly due to them. So he decided that the final solution to the problem of the Jews is basically undertaking mass killing of the Jews. And this mass killing of the Jews happened in the form of Hitler using his armed forces, using his state bureaucracy to pick up the Jews and put them into concentration camps and burn them alive. And this is what he basically called as a final solution, which ultimately manifested as the infamous Holocaust. So one thing is very important, that in this backdrop, Adolf Eichmann was an operative of the Nazi regime. he was working on behalf of the bureaucracy of Hitler. He was also trying to take basically the Jews all over Germany to the concentration camps with the larger objective of putting them to death. And he tried to do this with utmost efficiency. Now, after his particular activity in the Nazi regime, he was basically, through a very spectacular operation by Israel, brought to Israel for trial of killing of Jews. And during his trial, many new things came out to the public domain. This is the time period when the trial of basically Adolf Eichmann began in Jerusalem. That a lady scholar by the name of Hannah Arendt, the lady as you can see in the picture, observed the trial and tried to make some sense out of what this man Adolf Eichmann was trying to say. So friends, in Jerusalem, when Adolf Eichmann was put to trial for the killing of the Jews, it's very surprising to see that Adolf Eichmann at that time very clearly stated that what he was trying to do of taking the Jews to the concentration camps was just a normal duty. He said that I was just following the orders of the bureaucracy. And he said that I was just following the orders of my superiors. In fact, Adolf Eichmann during his trial went on to also say that when he took the Jews to the concentration camps and eventually whatever happened to the Jews subsequently, he was not concerned about that. He said that he was simply doing his job as a bureaucrat of the regime. He did not basically do anything which was abnormal. Now, when Hannah Arendt was observing this trial, she felt very disturbed. She found that how can somebody like Adolf Eichmann, who is basically a person who is a mass murderer, who has taken the Jews to the concentration camps, justify the violence as normal? And she was very disturbed by this. This led Hannah Arendt to undertake a lot of research. And then, after her observation of the trial of Adolf Eichmann, she eventually wrote a report and a book. And that book was basically known as Eichmann in Jerusalem, a report on the banality of evil. Now what did Hannah Arendt observe? In this particular observation of the trial of Adolf Eichmann, Hannah Arendt found that Adolf Eichmann was basically neither a perverted officer, nor he was basically an abnormal person. In fact, it's surprising that Hannah Arendt found that Adolf Eichmann was a terrifyingly normal person. And in fact, she went on to say that all that Adolf Eichmann tried to do was that he was simply following the orders of the bureaucracy. She said that he was basically very, very thoughtless when he was following the orders of the bureaucracy. He never tried to put himself in the shoes of the Jews whom he was trying to take, because he was behaving in a thoughtless manner. He was behaving in a very remorseless manner. And this is the reason why Hannah Arendt went on to say that, this evil that he tried to do was justified in the name of the orders from the bureaucracy. And this is exactly what the problem of Adolf Eichmann was as per Hannah Arendt. That Hannah Arendt said that how can an officer do violence and justify violence in the name of just following the official orders? And this is what she tried to explain by giving the concept of banality of evil. When she arrived at this concept, she said that in the trial of Adolf Eichmann, one thing is very clearly visible, that he was completely thoughtless in following the orders. He lacked the cognitive thinking. He never thought about the implications of what he was trying to do. That is what precisely even Adolf Eichmann said in the quote, that he simply followed the orders of the bureaucracy. He only followed whatever his superiors were telling him to do. And this is what Hannah Arendt said, that this man was completely disengaged from the reality. The reality was that the Jews were after all being taken by him to concentration camps and burned to death alive. So this is something very difficult to absorb. So this kind of approach that Hannah Arendt was trying to build up helped her to arrive at this concept of banality of evil. So what were the defining features of the banality of evil according to Hannah Arendt? The first one was following the orders of bureaucracy. This is what precisely Eichmann was trying to do. That Eichmann also justified in the quote that I was simply following the orders of my superiors, and he was only concerned with his promotion and career. He was not concerned about the implication of taking the Jews to concentration camps, as I just explained to you. He had no regard for the reality of his actions. He never knew that the Jews who are being taken there would be eventually put to death. Had he tried to put himself in the shoes of the Jews, probably he would have not done the same. This is what Hannah Arendt argued in her book. And in fact, Hannah Arendt went on to say that he himself was not inherently evil, but merely a shadow of evil, because he himself did not do anything wrong, as he himself justified that he was following the orders of the bureaucracy. He was only concerned with his career and promotion. Thereby, he was just trying to be clueless about the evil act. This is the core of the entire banality of evil concept. Now, in fact, there have been surprisingly 2 studies done on the banality of evil that justify a very clear thing here. One study is called the Stanley Milgram's electric shock experiments, and the second one is the Stanford prison experiments. Both these studies point out and tell us one very important thing, that if you rightly brainwash people, now please understand this very carefully, both these studies say that if you rightly brainwash people, you can compel them to follow orders, and these orders, howsoever evil, would be followed without resistance. You see, this is exactly the case of Adolf Eichmann. This is exactly what Hannah Arendt is trying to say. She is simply saying that Adolf Eichmann was brainwashed in the Nazi regime, and he was compelled to follow orders. The orders was to pick up Jews and take them to concentration camps. He did that without any thoughts, without any understanding of the reality of what he was trying to do. And because he was just following orders, these orders necessitated him to do an evil activity, and which he did without offering any resistance. And both these experiments also proved the same idea, though these experiments are experiments of psychology. But these psychology experiments also lend credibility to what banality of evil study of Hannah Arendt is, and also help us to understand what Adolf Eichmann also tried to do, because in his case also exactly the same thing happened. So one thing is very clear here, that if we now look at the core of the banality of evil, the core of the banality of evil as advocated by Hannah Arendt was that people just tend to follow orders, and they tend to follow orders if they are rightly brainwashed. So what is important to understand is the brainwashing of the people. That if you are rightly convinced that you have to follow these orders, you will follow these orders without any kind of resistance. Even though while following these orders you may get disconnected from the reality. This means that you may not get concerned about the implication of the orders. You may just try to follow them without understanding anything. And third thing is that there will be absence of remorse for the activities that you do. This is what Hannah Arendt said, that when Eichmann was taking the Jews to the concentration camps, he displayed no remorse for his act, because he termed this activity that he was doing as a normal activity. And the fourth thing is that the justification is often given for violence, and this justification is that whatever we did in the form of violence is nothing but a normal activity. Now, if we try to apply this core of banality to the present day scenario, we can now understand the fact that how terrorism works. Terrorism works precisely by brainwashing people. They try to brainwash people and encourage people to do a violent activity for which the justification is that we have been brainwashed to do this activity in the name of God or anything else. And this also explains how Indians basically started joining the ISIS at one point of time, because they were very rightly brainwashed to carry out evil activities. So Indians joining ISIS was nothing but an implementation of banality of evil of Hannah Arendt in practice in the modern times. Similarly, as I just told you, one of the core features of the banality of evil is just follow the orders. This particular thing is basically visible in the case of bureaucracy. And the curious case of Stan Swamy, who recently died, basically explains the fact that the bureaucracy kept on just following the orders. In fact, if you have read about Stan Swamy, you would understand that when he demanded a straw in the jail, it took the bureaucracy nearly around 20-25 days to get the file cleared. So bureaucracy continues to behave in the way they want to behave without understanding the implications of their acts. This is what precisely Hannah Arendt is trying to say. Similarly, the riots in Gujarat, the anti-Sikh riots, and the cow vigilantism that we witness in our country in the present times are all examples of absence of remorse, where violence happens and a justification for the violence is ready. So I hope that now you are able to understand that what is this banality of evil, how it came, and how it is relevant today in the world. Because when you write an answer in the examination, though Hannah Arendt is a part of the paper 1, but it has to be written with live examples of the present day times. So I hope you are able to understand the larger linkage, and I leave you this presentation now with a question to think about, that is, modernity has given rise to the banality of evil. This statement is given by Hannah Arendt. Comment. So I hope you are able to understand the concept, and we will continue this series with more concepts for you all. Thank you.